Sex scandals are the fastest way to terminate a political career. Extramarital affairs have the power to tarnish decades of your hard-earned image in a matter of days, regardless of whether you are a lawmaker, governor, or president. There are, however, some exclusions to the norm. Leaders like Julius Caesar didn't give a hoot about these accusations and reached the pinnacle of their professions. However, there is one politician playboy who not only succeeded despite being exposed, but also leveraged the issue to launch his career to new heights. Publius Claudius Pulcher. Human nature doesn't really change, and so it shouldn't be surprising that similar behavior was happening in the past. On today's episode of History Rediscovered, we'll discuss the worst social scandal to ever shock the Senate of ancient Rome, and how it was instrumental in bringing an end to the Roman Empire's Republican era. The scandal. Pompeia, the wife of Julius Caesar, was chosen to host the Bona Dea celebration in 62 BCE. Only women were permitted to attend since it was an ancient tradition for the wives of the current Pontifex Maximus, also known as the chief priest. Only a year prior, Caesar's election as Pontifex Maximus was a momentous occasion for his wife and family. Infiltrating the festival as a woman, Claudius, who was smitten with Pompeia, finally came clean to her when he found her by herself. The rumor quickly spread throughout Rome after Caesar's mother and a servant are said to have walked in on them. This was big news for Rome's whole political system, because Caesar was a rising office holder who many senators were both envious of and skeptical of. The shoe was now on the opposite foot. Claudius was soon detained and accused of sacrilege. Why did Caesar think Claudius was bad news? Publius Claudius Pulcher was a typical example of a bratty nepotistic byproduct. He was from the noble Claudian gens, one of the oldest and most illustrious patrician families in Rome. He was expelled from Rome at the young age of 20 for falsely accusing Catiline of having an extramarital affair with one of the Vestal Virgins. After having a sexual relationship with his own sister Claudia, who was then Lucullus's wife, Claudius was accused of turning his brother-in-law Lucullus's troops against him. This allegedly ruined Roman diplomatic relations with Cyprus and sparked unrest in Syria. Claudius had made a name for himself as a talking, walking nightmare of public relations. Rome took considerable notice of the report that Caesar's wife had been duped by such an idiot. Caesar used his status in the exclusive society of Caesar to his use. The trial involved well-known attorneys Cicero and Curio, and the discussion stretched on for months. The interests of well-known politicians like Caesar, Pompey, and Caesar himself were not the only ones damaged by this judicial spectacle, which delayed not just upcoming elections but also public business. In Claudius's acquittal, despite the fact that Cicero, Caesar's mother, and numerous other eyewitnesses provided devastating evidence against him. Even though he was fully aware of the facts, Caesar declared his wife to be innocent, thereby implicitly exonerating Claudius. The famous justification that Caesar's wife must be above suspicion was used by Caesar to divorce Pompeia following the trial. Claudius, on the other hand, managed to escape, and for mutual political gain, Caesar forged an alliance with Crassus and Pompey. The rise and fall of Claudius' political career. Claudius was a little-known politician in Rome who enjoyed a respectable level of popularity among the populace. Since the majority of Caesar's supporters were also commoners, he saw Claudius' potential and, rather than punishing him for having an affair with his wife, Caesar and Crassus gave him the chance to serve the first triumvirate. After the trial, Claudius renounced his ancestry and obtained adoption from a commoner's family in order to run for tribune of the plebs. With the help of Caesar's backing and massive support from voters, Claudius won as well. Soon after gaining power, he used it to exact revenge on Cicero and had him banished from Rome, but it also strengthened his gang harassment of private thugs. These thugs were used to nobles and politicians, and they worked not only for Claudius but helped the triumvirate indirectly as well. But Claudius was just a pawn, and his gaining power soon became a concern. Pompey was the first to openly criticize Claudius and express his desire to bring Cicero back to Rome. Furious, Claudius threatened Pompey, and for a year Cicero even attempted to murder him. He and Pompey supported Milo in the upcoming elections against Claudius after he returned to Rome. After defeating Claudius, Milo quickly assembled his own crew of thugs and took the battle to the streets. Milo was successful in killing Claudius during their final fight on Appian Way. Throughout the entire chapter, common people's faith in the Republic was shattered, and patricians were left feeling uneasy. Meanwhile, Caesar grew his power in Europe and Africa and returned home to contest for consul of the Roman Republic against Pompey, which would eventually lead to the end of the Republic. Well, that's quite a lot, isn't it? What do you think Caesar should have given Claudius after the affair? Was the end of the Republic inevitable? Let us know where you stand in the comments. Decadence was blamed for the fall of the Roman Republic by ancient historians. Modern historians, such as Edward Gibbon, have pointed at decadence as one of the factors involved in the fall of the Roman Empire that followed. If you look at the sources from that era, you can see that there are many stories that support this view. Roman society was obsessed with intimacy, which can be seen from the public brothels, and even graffiti that were discovered in Pompeii. Perhaps the single most notorious woman in Roman history was Valeria Messalina, wife of Emperor Claudius. A ruthless political schemer who engineered the downfalls and murders of her enemies, Messalina was also well known for her insane appetite. In fact, her promiscuity has been the stuff of legend for thousands of years, inspiring numerous plays, paintings, operas, and movies. She was dubbed the Imperial by the Roman poet Juvenal, while the historian Suetonius wrote that she committed the most shameful excesses. And then there's the story reported by the great Roman author Pliny the Elder, who described how she competed with a well-known prostitute to see who could bed the most men in succession. According to Pliny, the empress outdid her after continuous intercourse, night and day, at the 25th embrace. Messalina's carnal exploits eventually led to her death. When she married one of her lovers, this act of outrageous bigamy demanded official retribution, and she was executed by the Praetorian Guard. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.